let's go and jump straight in and see what we have ahead of us for our October release. So in terms of the running order for today, slightly different to how we normally approach it. We're going to start off with Lara talking about a brand new module that we're bringing into the Neurons platform. So this isn't strictly part of DEX. It's part of our broader DEX story in terms of its ability to help insulate users against cybersecurity threats. But this is an additional module that we're bringing to the Neurons platform. So super happy to have that update. And Susan is going to give us an update on some of the exciting core services deliverables, specifically around product landing pages, new ways to use data and the analytics enhancements that we're making this quarter. And then we're going to pick up things from a discovery perspective. Rex is going to give us an update there about some of the exciting developments with attack surface management. And then across workspace, edge intelligence and healing, myself and Alan are going to give an update into some of the work that's been happening there. So from a broader double-click perspective, some of the call-outs in here, this isn't a complete list. Again, some of the work that Susan's doing isn't directly reflected in here because part of our broader up-leveled core service deliverables. But again, this is a high-level roll-up of some of the things you can expect. Again, we'll go into more detail, and there are more items than we can squeeze into this chart. But with that said, let's go ahead and get rolling. So starting with app control, and over to you, Lara.
Thank you very much, Robin. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the meeting. So I'm going to give you an update on app control. Like Robin says, it's a brand new module to Neurons. Now, I'm sure there are some people on this call who will be familiar with application control, which is one of the products in the Ivanti portfolio. We actually have several products called something like application control or that sort of thing. One of them is the one that came from AppSense a few years ago and a part of the UWM family. And what effectively we have done is taken the agent for that and put a new configuration engine on the front, modernized it, made it much more user-friendly for a modern workforce. So I'm going to run through some of the features that we've got in the new app control, and then I'll give you a little sneak peek demo as well. So if we go to the next slide. One of the things that sets application control in UWM, aside from all of the competition, is its concept of something called trusted ownership. Effectively, what we do is, as a sort of a baseline, is only apps that are owned by one of the 4 trusted owners is able to execute. So it gives you that 0-day malware protection, because as soon as you have put application control or app control on any device, it is protected from those 0-day threats. You can then create exceptions to those rules. So we have a chart right there on the homepage which tells you all of the apps that will be blocked by trusted ownership, so that you can create exceptions and say, actually, in this instance, we do need this app to run for these users. Or it might be that you say, you know what, I need to go back to my app distribution and deploy these apps properly so that they're not owned by users of the devices and instead are owned by the correct applications and what have you. So that's the trusted ownership piece. If we look at the next slide, the other big feature that we have, the great thing about this, using a mature solution and putting a new configuration engine on it, is that we get lots of features without having to build too much ourselves. So one of the things that we also have in here is something that we call audit and restrict mode. And this is really valuable when you are trying to work out what impact app control will actually have on your environment. So what you do is you create a configuration and you deploy it in audit only mode. And what that does then is it sends you back a whole load of information about all the things that would happen if it was in restrict, but it doesn't impact your users' productivity while you are finding out what is actually in your environment and that you need to worry about. So it's really valuable from that perspective. What most customers tend to do is deploy in audit mode for a week or a month or so, just to find out what's there, what they need to create exceptions for, and then they move to restrict mode and have that trusted ownership fully protecting the devices. If we carry on to the next slide. The other big feature, if you will, the other side of application control is privilege elevation. And again, the way that we do it in app control is different to what a lot of our customers will do, competitors even, is what we let you do is elevate for specific processes. So if you have an application that requires administrator privileges for some reason, you can elevate just that app for just the people who need to be able to use it. And while they are using that application, it runs in administrator, but they can't do anything else. And the same thing also applies to Windows components. So you can enable some people to perhaps run command line elevated, but not to run regedit, for example. So it's very specifically to the app or component and to the group of users that it applies. So it's very granular control for you. Moving on. We've tried to make it a little bit easier as well by adding something called app templates. This is basically where you can pull together related executables or DLLs and what have you, so that you can add them to a configuration as a group all at once. It reduces a bit of the human error. What we want to do in the future, of course, is allow you to create is for us to create app templates for you to import and use in your configurations. And the last slide, I think, before I get into demo, is we can create rules from data. So we've put lots of information on the home screen for you, and I'll show it to you in just a minute. And you can drill through all of these charts to get to the underlying data, and then you can use that data to edit your configurations. So it's a very seamless process. You can look at something and go, oh no, that's not right. I need to make an exception for that thing. And it's right there and easy for you to do. And I'm sorry, I do have one more slide, because the last slide I want to talk to you about is we also have some historical data there for you to start analysing actually what app control is doing for you. So being able to look at over time, how much is it denying? And depending on what your strategy is, you'll either see that going up or down. Same with elevations. It might be that you find as you remove administrator privileges from more and more users, the amount of elevations that AC does actually increases, and that's a good thing. So it's really interesting information. And then we also got the denied executions by vendor. Again, it's just all information there for you. But I think with that, if I take over screen ownership and I shall show you what we're talking about. What we do see here is these two charts at the top, which are your kind of main, most useful information, if you will. It tells you things that would be blocked by trusted ownership and things that require elevated privileges. Now, in this list here, you are going to see things that probably should be allowed, but for whatever reason are being owned by the user of the machine instead of a trusted installer, in which case you could choose to redeploy the application, or you could just create an exception for it. And I'll show you how that works now. So if I drill through here, I can say, oh, that code tunnel.exe, that looks completely legitimate. We should definitely allow that. So I'm just going to come in here and create a rule. And that's what I mean. It's very, very easy. I can select which configuration I'm going to create the rule for. Again, this is absolutely development test data, so there's all sorts of stuff in here, but I'll just pick one of these called test and click my create rule. So it's taken me straight into this configuration editor piece. You can see that it's chosen already the file that I wanted to create an exception for, and it's assuming I'm creating an allow rule because I was looking at things that would be blocked. So the assumption is if you're creating an exception, you're creating an allow rule. Again, if you go through the configuration editor, you can make all these decisions up front as well if you don't come through from the charts. But I can also change the metadata and things here as well. So I can make it so that only code tunnel version 10 is allowed or what have you. All of that comes as well. And I can also add other files to this rule, and I could also add files manually. So if it's not being captured by the data already, but I know there is a file coming into the environment that I do need to create an allow rule for, then I can add it in manually if I need to. The next step then is to choose who this rule is going to apply or when it's going to apply. I can just select everyone if I want to, so I can say this is going to apply to everybody, or I can set it for particular AD groups or AD users, devices, Entra ID, IP addresses. So if I can set an IP range here. Oh yeah, go on. Let me do that. So I know it's not a real IP range, but you get what I mean. And I could also type in a user Anyway, you get the idea. You can add as many as you want to, and then having created my rule, I can move forward to the summary. It has automatically given this rule a name because, again, it knows the context of it. It's automatically given it a description as well. All of that I can edit. And the purpose of these fields is so that you can keep track of why rules exist in your configuration. Certainly over the last few years of application control at Ivanti with the on-premise and the hybrid solution, we know that customers' configurations can grow exponentially over time as things come in and out of their environment. And we say to a customer, do you know what that rule's for? And 9 times out of 10, they can't tell us anymore because it was created 6 months, a year ago, 3 years ago. So this gives you that ability to keep track of exactly what's going on. Each and every rule can also be turned on or off in each configuration as well. So you get a real ability to build rules over time and things like that and turn them on only when they're required. So having done that, we get a list of all the configurations in our environment. We can see which ones are published, which ones are actually actively deployed and what have you as well. We can see if they're in a draft state and all of that good information as well. And then finally, we have that app templates bit that I was talking about. So this ability to see all of the, let's have a look at acro.exe, for example. We can see all of the files that are part of acro.exe. I can I can edit it if I want to, and add more files if I think is necessary. So I can change all these app templates as well so that I can collect all these files together. But that's a very quick, very whirlwind tour. I didn't even touch the privilege elevation piece, but it works in a very similar way. You get to choose which app or component you want to elevate and who that rule applies to. We've also got this ability here to see how many devices have your configurations deployed to them so that you can keep track of how well you are protecting your environment. But with that, I think I shall stop there and hand back to Robin.
Excited to introduce now Susan to give a demo on all things core services. Susan, over to you.
All right. Hello, everybody. Well, I want to have something exciting to show you today. I feel like it's the kind of update post-production need to put in a drum roll. So let's jump right to it. The first thing, let me start sharing. Today, my presentation would mostly be a demo, no slides. So I think that's always something good news. The first thing I want to talk about is something that is probably one of the most asked for requests, which is the ability to generate report. Yes, we are talking about reports on Neurons platform. So October, we've introduced that, and we will start with the patch management data set. Not only that, we will start with 3 summary level out-of-box templates. What that means is customers, you don't even need to create your report template. You log on and you will be able to generate your first report as simple as 1, 2, 3. Let me show you again how easy it is to do it. So first you create a new report, and we have the report template organized by the theme. We have different ways to dissect the look at the patch data. So either it's by devices, by patch, by deployment history. So for this demo purpose, let's try devices by patch summary. Then next is, you can see that we have a lot of options for you to do exactly the report you want. So there's only 1 mandatory field. I think there's only 2 mandatory fields. So you would give the report a name, a self-defined name. And then that is where the cool part. We have so much ability for you to pick exactly either the device group, even the policy, to the KB number, to the advisory, to the individual patch, or even patch configuration you want that report to focus on. So a lot of filtering options. And if you happen to be a smaller company and you want to have a report on all devices or all patch, you don't even need to put in any filter. If you don't put in any filter, it will just generate a report for everything. And we also have a little enhancement that makes it so much easy for you to find whatever find the devices you want. So for example, you can see we have once you start typing, we have almost like a recommendation, the devices with that name. So if the ones I want to demo today is Win10 test, you don't even need to type up the full name. It will be something you can search for in a list. Another cool thing we have is you can travel back in time. Because of the nature of the compliance report, a lot of time the reason either is for regulatory reasons or internal compliance, tracking SLA, or even just answering questions from the business. The ability to go back in time and query the status of a date prior to today, it could be really useful. So for this demo purpose, let me just pick a day, say a week from today. Other than that, you can also export it as PDF, CSV, or Excel. So very good way. Either if you have a beautiful format PDF, which we will see later, or you can even just export the data you want for further analysis. In this particular case, let's try the PDF. And once that the job is submitted, and here you will be directed back to a list of the report that you've been created in the past. Here, I know we said we're going to start with a patch management data set, but the idea is this is going to provide a unified reporting experience for all of you. In the future, if and when we renew a new data set, you will see all your report in one place. So it makes it so much easier to find, to share the report that you want. So let's give it a refresh. And you can also see the status of the report generation. So you can see this one is still in progress, and you can clearly see that state. Once it's complete or failed, you will able to see the reason for the failure as well. Let's see. Ooh, this time is taking a bit longer. Here you go. You also get a notification that the generation is completed. So let's take a look at how the report look like. So you can see the marketing team and our UX team did spend some time designing the report layouts. As a result, I think this is a very beautiful, clear report. It has a really good information density showing you all the right information, and also in a way that is easy to read, easy on the eye. So in this particular example, you see it's the devices by patch summary example. We have information about the name and the ID of the patches. We see the vendor security, and key part here is, it shows you the number of missing devices, installed devices for that install patch. And as an added, I think, innovation, we also include VRR information. So that is a very good way, good integration that showcase our product, our information you get from the risk-based management solutions. So so this is the October. Again, we will release 3 summary template, so we can start generating report. So that is going to be what the key innovation we have for October. But that's not it. Once you have the patch data for report, guess where else you will also be able to find the data set? The answer is Dashboard Designer. So for Dashboard Designer, we are also introducing the patch management data set. Actually, we're going to separate it into 2 data sets. One is going to be based on patch scan, patch device scan history. The other one is deployment history data set. So what that means is you are able to create beautiful dashboard like what you see here. You're able to put key charts around endpoint vulnerability, patch intelligence about vulnerabilities themselves, and even deployment history all in one dashboard. And again, to highlight the Dashboard Designer's ability, again, you can actually put the charts from multiple data set in one dashboard. So if you want, you can even add in a chart about the devices itself in this dashboard. And in addition to patch management dashboard, another exciting thing we're going to introduce for the dashboard designer side is going to be the DEX score data set. Oops. So for example, let me show you. So for example, we're gonna have three new DEX score data set that is going to be around org score, device DEX score, and people DEX score. And for the organizational DEX score, this is the first time you're able to train your DEX score to see to trend and do a line chart on your organizational DEX score to see how it improves over time. So to summarize, for the dashboard designer side, we're introducing pretty much 5 new data sets, 2 from patch and 3 from DEX score. So very exciting. You're now going to be able to create dashboard with more richer information and really getting closer to the idea of a single pane of glass, having a dashboard that's going to able to show you status situation from different aspects of your IT organization. So that is on the reporting and dashboard designer side. Now I'm going to switch gear to also something that is completely new. Over the last while, core services, we have a mandate to make it easier to integrate different Ivanti systems to really make Ivanti the IT solution for your IT organization. And for October, we are taking another step towards that goal. And this time, we try to answer the question is, what happens if we are able to correlate to join data set from different Ivanti tools, say from ITSM and from our Neurons platform, and see how what new insight we can find from overlaying those data sets. In October, we're going to be able to do that for the first time. So for example, what you see here is a new landing page called Portfolio landing page. This will be available for customer with more than one system. So in this particular case, for customer with ITSM and your Neurons platform. And this is not replacing your existing Neurons landing page. So this is really important. This is not replacing your existing Neurons landing page yet. This is experience above and beyond your existing landing page experience. So if you log on, if you have multiple products, you log on, this is the first thing you see. And here as an example, this is what I say when you're able to join our data from different Ivanti systems. So we have, in this particular example, we are talking about growth, how your incident growth information from ITSM relative your growth in your devices and number of people. Idea is, as an IT organization, we want to be more efficient. We want to be transforming ourselves. Want to shift left. The idea is this chart will show you. The idea is your growth of new incident. If they are slower than the growth of people or devices, that means your company is growing. You have more people. They have more devices, but your organization is getting more efficient, and as a result, a lot of those issues are able to be shift left and not landed up as an incident. And this is what we want to see. And for the first time, we're able to see if that's the case when we correlate the data set into one view. And we also have, for this portfolio landing page, for the first release, we are targeting 2 personas. We're targeting the executive persona, and we're also targeting the manager persona. And for the manager persona, specifically, we are targeting the IT service, the service desk manager persona. So we will have charts that are targeting that persona. And the last, but definitely not the least, is yes, we have data visualization. We have data visualization that ties data sets together. But not only that, our focus here is about actionability. This is gonna be the landing page that are gonna be most focused on actionability. As a result, we have something called the statement tiles that we calculate key insight and present to you in a statement. So a busy manager, busy executive like yourself, when you log on, you have the item that needs your attention right away, and you can see them right away. So this is something very excited we're gonna have for October. So to summarize my part, in October, we're gonna have reporting, and starting with the patch reporting on the Neurons platform. We're gonna have 5 new data set from patch and DAX score from dashboard designer. And last but definitely not the least, we have a portfolio landing page for customer with more than one system that are going to show you data in a way that you've never seen before. So that's all for me. Back to you, Robin.
Awesome. Well, let's move swiftly on. So, of course, we're talking there about the core platform. And again, the other side of that equation is on the agentry and policy side. So, as we mentioned before on these calls, really, we have a really exciting roadmap, lots of investment and work going on here across the agentry, across the policy. So a couple of the items you're going to see here from an October perspective. And indeed beyond that is something that we call health indicators. So this is really helping to provide a broader view of the agent health, so the manageability of devices, and where there's issues with that manageability, being able to bubble up what those key insights are. So this is going to be a kind of a multi-phase deliverable for us. So first of all, it's going to see these core agent indicators, and as we continue on through the roadmap, you'll see additional capabilities plugging into this. But no demo to show on this today, unfortunately. But you can see a mock-up there, which indicates visually what it's going to look like with those tiles. Next up, we have reboot criticality levels. So across the experience, of course, we have multiple features. We have the base agent, we have the different engines on there. As we look at things like patching, the ability to distribute applications, all of those will come with different reboot requirements. And so, again, a lot of energy and investment has gone to really consider this from a DEX viewpoint, from a digital experience of the users, to make sure that you're finding the right balance between kind of not sequentially rebooting, making sure that reboot experience is optimized, and crucially understanding that requirement to reboot. How important is it? Again, if it's a critical security issue and you're putting a security patch up there and it requires a reboot, that's something that's really critical. And again, if we are, for example, on servers, then we don't want to reboot those at all. That's going to be a manual process. So this is really about building out that experience, being able to deploy against those different criticality levels. So again, following on from that one, there will also be the ability to customize the look and feel to a degree of those reboot prompts as well. So that's a subsequent piece of work that follows straight on. So that really rounds off the updates from a core platform perspective. But next, we have Rex to talk about all things discovery.
Over the last little while, we've been working, as we worked in discovery, we continue to enhance our security connectors. Our security connectors are pulling in CVE information. So if you look in a device, you can now see the CVEs that are coming with that. We've now taken that from a single device level to having the ability to see it across your organization. So we've built out the exposures insights, allows you to look in and understand across the aggregation of all those security connectors that you have, all of your security providers. You now have an aggregated view of the insights that are going on. The number of exposures, when they've been found, the heat map, the types of exposures. Now, not only did we get you an insights here, we also have the ability for you to have an exposures view. You can see here, I'm collecting exposures from both my Qualys and my Tenable, and I have an aggregation. I can see what type of exposure, where it was found, what devices it's on, what the sources for it are, and which devices are impacted with that exposure. From the exposure, I can direct link out. I can take me out to the CVE so I can get the data. I can go to the specific device, and I have this full and complete aggregation. of our exposures that has come together. So to pull that off, we've updated the connectors. So we pull in that data together. You can see if I click on the sources here, CrowdStrike, Defender, Qualys, Rapid7, Tenable. We continue to add and enhance those connector capabilities. We've created you the views that come with that. And we're working towards, our roadmap is to continue to enhance this capability, integrate it with the RVVM data, the vulnkb data to get us an additional richness, and to use our inventory data to understand the risks on devices you don't have a vulnerability scanner on. So over the next quarter, you're going to continue to hear us talk about this as we build this out. So with that, Robin, back to you.
So, okay, so next talking about workspace. So again, some exciting and even game-changing capabilities coming to workspace. So let's jump straight in and have a look at those. So first of all is condition grouping. So this is something that was introduced on the people view as a way to better organize the rules within there. So this is coming to the device grouping as well to make them easy to work with and consolidate those rule sets. But next is also the ability to be able to support greater than a certain number of days. And so the premise behind this is typically what you've had to do in the past when you're working with date ranges is you're working with them on a static basis. So like in the screenshot there, you would have a calendar picker, you would pick the date range, and then that group is arbitrarily locked into that date range. So really this is about making that more dynamic so that instead of it being a fixed date, you could say it is greater than the last X number of days. So where this becomes really powerful is of course, the groups there become completely dynamic. So if you want to have a group that's populated by devices where something hasn't happened in the last XYZ or something is going to happen in the next XYZ, if you think about things like warranty replacement and things like that, they can populate a device group. The next thing from that one, of course, is that becomes something you can automatically target with automation with the bot. So if you want to, for example, start to have use cases around, well, okay, I've got an upcoming warranty expiry. I want to do an assessment of things like the battery health. I want to check in with the user and see whether there's any issues with their device I can deal with ahead of time. It unlocks all of those sort of use cases. So it's extremely powerful there for that one. Again, you'll continuously see improvements to role-based access. So a couple we had a lot of votes on actually within the user voice portal, where additional controls over the device deletion, also over public group creation as well. So again, they're already live now. They were in your tenants today. So additional RBAC controls around those two. There you go. Public group is the other one there. So another big one here, of course, is power management. And of course, this is a really popular request for a lot of people who are coming from an on-premise UEM solution is, hey, I want a way of being able to easily control power management. And again, in today's climate, of course, there's a lot of focus on sustainability efforts. And this is one of the key ways of having a consistent view of what's happening from there as well. So there'll be a new set of policy settings within there that allow that control over the power management. Okay, something else I'm going to talk a little bit about as we get into the healing and the bot section, of course, as we talk about the bots technology that straddles between workspace and healing. It's available in both. Obviously, the difference there is the different trigger types that are supported. We're going to talk a lot about array level support, but typically when you're executing a bot, of course, you have the notion of inputs, which are primarily shown at the workspace views. When an analyst clicks a bot, they can prompt that user to. Okay, something else I'm going to talk a little bit about as we get into the healing and the bot section, of course, as we talk about the bots technology that straddles between workspace and healing. It's available in both. Obviously, the difference there is the different trigger types that are supported. We're going to talk a lot about array level support, but typically when you're executing a bot, of course, you have the notion of inputs, which are primarily shown at the workspace views. When an analyst clicks a bot, they can prompt that user to provide that information. So one of the new enhancements off the back of this piece of work is the ability to pass in an array of information into a bot. So that might be a range of different port numbers, a range of different file names, and then what the bot can do is effectively loop through each one of those things and perform some work. So again, we'll unpick a little bit more about under the hood how that works and show you some of that in action. as we get onto the healing section. But before we get there, provide a couple of updates on Edge Intelligence. So Edge Intelligence, we have a few updates here. So I'm maybe going to jump out the slides for just a moment. In fact, what we'll do, we'll just whiz through the slides and then we'll show a quick demo within here. So one of the goals as we introduce new capabilities, of course, in the case of location sensors, that came as Windows first, but we always strive for parity with Mac. So that's what we're introducing in this release, the ability to have finite control from a policy level over which devices share their location. Of course, on top of that, you can layer role-based access as well, but this can have the control at the device level. That now supports Mac as well. We've also introduced a couple of new sensors as well. So if you recall from the last release, we introduced application control. So whether you're running hybrid application control or traditional on-prem application control, that could be configured, of course, to store its audit events within the event log. And the same goes for Environment Manager as well. So if you're running on-prem or hybrid, we are now introducing an Environment Manager sensor as well, which, as well as providing a roll-up of those events, it also provides a time series view of the impact of those events over time. So this is a great way of being able to understand the impact of a configuration and, for example, what impact that's having on startup time, lets you compare A and B, lets you view that impact on a fleet-wide basis, and also be able to drill back in and understand those different data points over time. So again, this is something that's not really been possible to do without a lot of manual post-processing in the traditional experience. So it's one of the ways that new technology can really help with those configurations being more successful. There's also a new policy overview tile on that one as well that can show a roll-up of the high-level actions. So a couple of things from the UX enhancements perspective, a deeper level of localization for those of you who are working internationally, and as well there's some other UX enhancements within there as well. The settings are now under the admin section within there, and some additional improvements on the date time. So before we move on to healing, and I'm going to hand over to Alan in just a moment, I'll just show you a couple of those capabilities within there. So if I go over to Edge Intelligence sensor on here, I'm able to get to the Edge Intelligence settings, and you can see within here now we have these additional UWM sensors in here. So if I go, for example, and have a look at the Environment Manager event summary, again, it can get that full distribution of different actions within there. If I want to go and dig in, I can go and look at an example in here. This is just example data within here to show you what it looks like. So within there, I can get to a breakdown and I can understand the particular action that failed within here. I can go and have a look at the different counts that have happened. I can see the action that occurred within there, and I can start to dig in and get to more information on that event. So again, lots of capabilities there. If I come back out again, and I think I can get to a different event within here. This is again the overview. If we look at something that's a success within here, again we can go in and see an example of things in here that are successful as well. Again, I can dig in on these, and you'll notice that on an event that's successful, because it's successful, I now get this compare activity within here. So again, you get the duration of how long this thing took. But if I want to start and doing a comparison on this one, I can zoom back out again and compare across the fleet and see what the disparity between this configuration item is across different devices. So I can click in, and again, there's not a lot of data within here, but I can go and get some data, and this is where I can get to that time series view and start to understand different data points over time. So again, this has only really been done the once, but if you had run this numerous times, you'd be able to see different deviations in here, which will let you correlate it with configuration changes or other external events that might be impacting the performance of the device. So it really helps to get more scientific about the success of configurations. So with that said, let's go and change gears now, and we'll go and have a look at healing. And of course, healing is a tale of two parts. And kicking things off, Alan, do you want to take things away from an app distribution perspective?
Well, hello, everyone. We're so glad to have you with us today. We can go over these items. So in Neurons for Healing, as Robin mentioned, we have two parts. So I'm going to cover app distribution. The two that you see listed there in blue are items that we actually recently released, so they are currently available. I'm going to show those in just a moment. Windows Package Manager support and support for AWS S3 buckets for storing your files in. I'll show those. The next three, proxy support, an end user app portal, and Ivanti provided cloud storage are what's planned for the October release. Proxy support means if you have a network proxy, we did not have support for that previously. We do now support that for app distribution. For the end user app portal and Ivanti provided storage, unfortunately, I was not able to get demos of those, but I do have slides. So let's take a look at the slides. If I progress, there we go. This is kind of an earlier snapshot of a little bit of the prototype of it, but this is the app portal. We're going to allow you to view all apps. You can favorite them. You can see the history of them being deployed. You can create categories to group them together. You will now be able to make this app portal available to your end users so they can they can install on demand when they need to have it. There's a couple of snapshots again. You can see when you drill into one of them, there will be detailed information, including screenshots, which we don't happen to have screenshots on this particular one, but you would see it where you see those boxes. And we even have dark mode for people that prefer that. A little easier on the eyes sometimes, but that'll be a nice touch for the end users. The way you configure whether an app goes into the portal or not will be in the app configuration. We will have added another option. There's the install once, there's always install, and then there's make available in app portal. And you can always have it in the portal or only have it until somebody installs it, or until the user installs it, then it disappears. So a few options for how to make it available in the portal. Just a quick view of the categories feature that's there. That will be under the app distribution settings. You can create categories as many as you want. It'll show up in the overview tab of the product, so you can select what category it is. You can also create an icon that you can associate with each one, and as well as screenshots that I showed in the end user view previously, but this is how you do it inside the admin view. Also inside of App Catalog, because we are adding icons to it, those icons will start to appear in the App Catalog as well. And we will have a new column called categories, so you can start to filter and group by which applications you have that are part of a certain category if you just want to look at those or deploy those as a group or that type of thing. Now, as far as the Ivanti Cloud Storage, if you're already using the Cloud Storage Explorer, which I hope you are, it has access to both Azure and S3. I'll show you in a minute, but we will also have Ivanti Storage as an option there. We will provide 10 gigabytes of space for you to be able to use. And anything above and beyond, we would request that you use either Azure or AWS S3. And as you can see, I'm in the app distribution area under App Catalog. So I talked about Windows Package Manager and Winget. Excuse me. It's a package type, and it should be enabled in all of your tenants today. But you can come in here and do a search. And you can see there, I failed to show it, but there's over 4,000 packages there, but I can nail this down and say, well, I want Mozilla Firefox. It's the latest one. You can see it was last updated 2 days ago. So it always is always grabbing with the latest version that these vendors have posted to the Windows Package Manager repository. I've just created that package. There it is. All I need to do is add a distribution and add devices to target to it. And I'm done. So that Mozilla Firefox is now one of my packages that I have in here, and I can deploy it out. So it's as easy as that. The other thing I wanted to show is the S3 buckets. So if I come in here and I go to download, I want to add a new file. This is our Cloud Explorer. This is where you will also see the option for Ivanti storage. But you can see we have S3. You can then choose the bucket that you would like to have in there. And now all of your files and installers and everything you have that's out on S3 is available to you. Plus, you can upload your own files. If something is not there that you meant to put up there, you can upload something, or you can delete. So you can modify this as well directly from our Explorer, adding and deleting files. And then, of course, when we choose a file you want to add into your package, here it is, it's added, and you know what you're doing.
Super. Thanks, Alan. Lots of exciting things there. So let's go and take us home with the other item in Neurons for Healing, which of course is bots. So a couple of things are, well, we have a number of features coming in here. So the first one is around the survey. So of course, we brought in some further enhancements for our survey last quarter. What is landing this quarter is going to be a number of capabilities within here. So there'll be a new survey wheel on the global, which takes into account the global list of surveys where the questions have been marked as eligible to contribute to the DEX score. As well as that, there'll be survey summarization on both the people survey level as well as the topic modeling there as well. We also are introducing field level array support, and there's a number of stages that accompany this capability as well. And so when we talk about field level array support, what do we mean? So with our bots experience, we've traditionally had the concept of stages that can return multiple results. If we think about something that is going and interrogating a device to ask what free disk space is, the device might have multiple hard drives. You might have a C drive and a D drive. So if you want to then go and feed that into an action or perform an operation, you need to effectively loop through and do something different on each of those. Now, that's been a use case that we've been able to solve from day one with our next gen bots experience. But as we continue to expand the boundaries into additional ecosystems, predominantly using the web request stage, you get the concept of APIs that can return on different fields. Each of those different fields might return multiple results. So when we talk about the field level array support, this is above just looping through the entire results of a stage. It's being able to choose one of those columns of data that come back and recognize that that can return multiple results. And so what this allows us to do is really more powerful, more contextual automation. And so the types of list function stages you've got in there are being able to do averages, being able to filter, being able to find, flatten the list, pick a first in list, sort the list, sum the list. So what that means is that for these results that come back through the API, it starts to give very granular control rather than just looping through them sequentially. Again, this is going to unlock more powerful generic automation as we continue to develop on that platform. So another improvement that we brought in as well is the concept of the advanced stage panel. And so you will notice this on things like the team stages, the ITSM ticket stage. And this means that when we've got an upstream stage that's outputting some kind of date context, so it might be, for example, when was the last antivirus scan or XYZ, that date is typically going to be exhibited in an ISO format, which is great for computers. They know ISO formats. You can use it to calculate in the next 14 days, the last 14 days, and things like that. The trouble with an ISO format date is when you put it in front of a human, it's not very friendly. So the idea with this is that you can take that date and you can convert it into a human-friendly date. So there's a range of different options in there, the internationalization, how it's presented, and then that will appear as a new object that you can use within your ITSM or your Teams interaction, or wherever you want to bubble that up so that it's more consumable from a human perspective. Run now against private groups. So when you're creating a bot, typically the workflow there is you're going to test it on a small number of devices first. And so one of our feature requests that got raised fairly recently, actually, but got a lot of interest was, hey, I don't like having to use my public groups to put my test devices in for bots because it just pollutes that list that I want to use for production purposes. So please, can you support the run now capability against private groups just so we can keep it clean? So again, that's a relatively low lift. And so what you'll see within there when you go to run a bot is you will see your own private groups within there. Just to streamline that process of creating bots. It's not available, for example, when you want to hard code that and bake it into the schedule trigger. Again, that's what the public groups are for that broader visibility. But when you're building out bots, again, you're now able to use your private groups within there. So here's a really big one. So until today, there's been a very loose coupling between bots and between all of the information that you get from inventory, from all of those connectors, that normalized, that reconciled data. And so really what we want to do is democratize access to that data and make it available in a richer context within automation. And so what we're introducing is a pair of new inventory query stages. And what these do is they give you the same level of capability as you get with the dynamic group builder. So when you go and create the group and you get the list of all of the attributes that are in there, be it custom attributes, be it information from the connectors, that is all available to as a stage to enrich the information that's being collected. And with that information, in the context of the device that's passing through the workflow, you can use that information, for example, within ITSM tickets. You can use it to filter. You can use it in Teams interactions. So, of course, the full capabilities that you have within the automation engine, you can now use all of that data that you're collecting across the data services. So, you know, an incredible amount of use cases unlocked by just that capability. So if anyone wants that enabling on their tenant, there are a couple of you already who for that have that enabled. That is ready to go, and we can turn it on. So another stage that we're introducing is the ability to have ticket automation around ServiceNow. So the ability to create or update a ServiceNow ticket. So that'll have similar capabilities to our ITSM ticket, or as close as we can get it. So the team are working on that right now. So we should have that one again ready to go in time for the release date. So for those of you using ServiceNow, again, that'll be a big uplift in terms of how bots can drive that ticket automation. Next is a topic, endpoint interaction optimization. So yeah, quite wordy, but effectively this is providing better visibility into the running of your bots. And so there's a myriad of different use cases that this can be used for. For example, if you want to get a better understanding how your analysts are using custom actions over time, this provides a time series graph. You can view it over different time periods. You can filter on particular bots, but it also gives you a sense of how many endpoints are or how many interactions with the endpoints are my bots having. So as a content creation co-pilot, this is helping to understand, for example, if we think about the complexity of a bot when we're orchestrating lots of actions, where we're going backwards and forwards and we're asking the device to do some work. So as part of optimizing the load on those endpoints, the network and everything else, we continuously strive to make things more efficient. One of the ways we're doing that is for scheduled bots that target a very large number of devices simultaneously. Those will effectively get optimized, which means that we spread out the invocation over a slightly longer period. So to get visibility and transparency where that's happening, you'll be able to view within the portal there which those jobs are getting optimized, where it's going out to the thousands. So that should lead to better reliability against those, as well as distributing that workload out and minimizing the impact on the endpoints and the network there as well. So there's an entirely new UI feature to facilitate that level of reporting and understand how your bots are being used. There's also a new removable storage query. So Edge Intelligence released a new sensor to understand historically which removable devices have been used within a given device. So we've now exhibited that as the bot stage. So of course you can plug that into email reports and things like that as well. There's also a new action stage as well in there. So initially we're bringing in the disable Entra ID user account. So this is part of the people context, and it's the first of numerous stages that we'll be bringing in there to help provide more powerful outcomes from an identity perspective as well. One of the features I was going to talk about is we've got a new capability in there to provide notifications on completion of bots, and that's got a user and a role picker. So what that means is that I've got the ability to get an email notification on completion of a bot, and I can opt in whether it's successful or whether it's failure. So that's a level of reporting that's built in there. Now that'll be a new button at the top up here alongside those endpoint interactions. The other capability is that web request stage I was talking about before. That now has the ability to auto map the output fields. So again, when you're consuming an API, you can point it to the API, you can click test and get response, auto map, and it'll create all of those arrays and mapping fields for you automatically. It'll auto detect the type, whether it's a number, whether it's text, whether it's a date, and then gives you the ability to easily use those. So with that said, that rounds out what we had to share with you today. So thank you very much for the great questions, for the feedback. Again, we'll answer any of those unanswered questions. And if you're interested in early access to any of these features, then please do let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to giving you further updates the next time we meet. So many thanks.